in a way.
Speaking on this, right? Like, how were y'all relationships with y'all parents? Like, you saying your dad beat you to the point where that, and your dad, like, y'all okay? Yeah, like your relationships okay for real.
Me and my dad are like boys now. We're not really like father and son. He was a terrible father because of like a lot of things that he was like. I mean, I grew up in like a single parent household and he wasn't always there for me and stuff. And he had like lots of women and shit. Man, that man did a lot. But I mean, in terms of just being like the relationship I have with him now, we're just more like friends. Like he's a best friend for me now because like I can go lime with him, drinking with him, talking about women, all that. Okay. But in terms of like a father, I mean, it's not somebody I want to emulate later on in life.
Yeah. So is it more of, I don't know if this is getting personal, but would it be more of because of the way he beat you or just because of him being a bad father? Well, like, I'm asking which one carried more weight.
I think all of them.
The beating or the him not being like absent to you?
I think it's like a mixture of all. Okay. It's a mixture of all. It's a combination of all.
Because I'm asking about this because it's like people feel like if you got beaten as a kid that you can't have like good relationships with your parents or whatever like that. And I'm a living testament that that's not true. My dad beat me and my daddy is my world. Like I love that man.
My mom beat me too, but I mean,
like I don't know why people hold that narrative like
I can tell you.
If I mean, yes, if you gotten abused and you won't have a certain relationship with your parents.
That's similar
like,
like Stockholm syndrome in a sense. Like, but you was like you kidnapped somebody, you
but
stayed there long
still,
enough, but that's the point. You're not gonna see it that
right,
way.
and see, I have a problem with that narrative because it's like you were abused, you were traumatized, but you can't help it. It's like why can't I have just been disciplined? And
that's what I said.
And learn the lesson and move on.
I'm not saying you're wrong, right? But I'm saying there's certain situations where the person who is clearly traumatized can't assess that. You're like, technically you wouldn't be the person. Even though you feel as though you know yourself. Are you sure? No, I'm not putting this as you in your situation.
Oh, but we're talking
but I'm sure
about
if you see it. Like, no, yeah, okay. But you're gonna say like for certain situations, imagine the crazy dude on the side of the street. Bro, you crazy? You crazy? You outside dressing up and down, throwing up random signs and just like freaking out. You'd be like, but you wouldn't see it that way. That person probably does not see it that way. I'm not saying that is you. But I'm saying argument wise, that's like I can understand why people come to you like, no, you're traumatized, but you can't tell. Like let a professional person who studies this assess you and be like, no, technically you are traumatized because you think this way. I'm not saying that you can't know yourself at all. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying like you technically shouldn't be the one person who can ultimately say. I mean like I don't know what's the best way to say it, but like get all multiple opinions from professionals, from friends, and you then consider all that and think to yourself like, all right, I assess everything everybody said, and I can say for myself, all right, cool, I understand. You see what I'm saying?
So you're saying that we can't say that we weren't traumatized by...
Because we were the victims.
That's what you're trying to say?
I'm saying, like, technically, you could be biased because you're the victims. I'm not saying that you aren't wrong, like, you can't be wrong or right. I'm saying it's best to, like, get outside opinions from that too, like, get an actual professional who understand, like, from, like, a scientific perspective, like, technically... You're gonna think this way because in terms of psychology or whatever. I'm not saying like you are wrong, but I'm saying like you could be biased to that situation.
Well, biased or not, I do go to I go to counseling, I go to my psychiatrist, all these things like constantly. Since I've been in Canada, all these things. But for me, in the relationship with my dad, and it comes to the beatings, I realized in myself like, bro, I was really disgusted. Like honestly,
Same.
Like as I said, I was the only girl living with my two brothers, and one I was fighting for attention. Two, I was just trying to be like my brothers. I was borderline like ADHD, like off the rails, right? And then for me, it's the fact that my dad also explained like why I was getting beat and all these things. It made me respect him more. Like no, looking back on it, it's just like, what if my dad didn't do that? Because imagine the time when he stopped beating me is when I was just like, well, he just take my phone, maybe really gonna body to text anyway. And then that's when for me it was just like, well, I already know maybe really gonna get no hard consequences. He got to me 7 room for maybe 2 weeks and then I out. You get what I mean? So for me, I understand what he was trying to do. I understand.
I feel like
for me, it's more of a personal thing. Like it wasn't excessive at all. My dad, it was never where I got wales, I never got no blood, no nothing. So I'm privileged in that sense where it was never excessive, right? Sure. So I still have the love for my dad, that my dad was really just looking out for me, honestly.
Yeah, another thing too, like not to sound racist again, but like white people is in general, they don't like beating their kids. And I feel like they're like more disrespectful to their parents. And I don't know if that's me saying that because I got beaten and I'm more respectful to my parents, like I respect their authority and like them where they say anything to their parents, they curse in front of them. It's like, should that be the way that your child is supposed to be? Should they have autonomy to be able to speak to you like that, or should it be like, no, I'm the parent, you're the child, and what I say goes, or you get look across your face? Or should it be like, I'm my own person, even though you're my parent? It's like, this is my room, get out of my room.
It teaches respect too, though. It teaches respect to just respect your authority too, like to respect teacher, like just respect people, like a manager or something like that, you know. Because if you just watch the difference.
But I don't think that's a good analogy, because your manager can't beat you, so it's like, I have no reason to fear you or to like.
But like still, like there's like you have to understand there's a hierarchy, like not necessarily like you just like there's certain people. You just have to speak to it with a little more respect.
Yeah. See, that's the argument. But you'll probably remember last week when I was talking, but the argument with the whole conversation before. What's there's a difference between fair and respect. You can't associate them two things the same way. Like you respect your friend, right? But there's a difference. You fear someone. Like you be like, I do not want to challenge you. And one of the arguments they'd be like is, because you had those situations as a child getting beaten, whatever. When you grow up, you might reach a certain point where like, I don't want to go against my parents.
It's
like
really hard.
Like it might be hard. Like now you think like I won't get beaten, right? But you might be like, I don't want to talk against my mom, just in general. Like I don't want to go against them, because they have this like, it's just a mental thing now. Like even though you expecting to get beaten, it's a fair like, I don't want to go against them.
It's really hard for me to tell my dad that he's wrong than to tell my mother she's wrong. Like I could tell my mom. Like if I see my mom doing like something, I'll be like, Mommy, like what are you doing? Like chill, like you know. But if my father, like I can't, and my father will not hit me at this age. But it's just like this fear that's in me, like it's like bro, like you know, it's like if I tell like what you gonna do, even if you shout at me, like it might just like bring me back to those days.
Why did you second?
No, just when he was saying like the whole fear thing. No, I'm like, no, I don't think that applies to me. No, like if I like for me to challenge my mom or like decide when I'm not gonna challenge their decision, it's just out of respect.
Okay, so like based on all of this we was talking about, like how do you feel about beating your kids, first of all, if beating your future kids, and like what would you do different from what your parents do to you?
I think I'd still beat my kids. But for me, I think, so I never really got beaten as a child, but my siblings. My siblings. But wait, I mean, I got beat less than 5 times in my whole life. But my siblings got beat. So I would just more learn from their experiences.
That's true.
But my dad would actually do it. Like if it is that he beaten any of them, it would be like, you must learn not to do this again. Don't do that again. Don't do that again. So his thing was, he's telling you what you did is wrong, and he's telling it to you while he beating you. But I feel like he was overboard, right? He was overboard. So for me, I feel like there is punishment to different ages of it. So as a child, I'm gonna beat my baby. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. You know, it's a little spanked. As they get older, it'll change. As they get older.
When you get older, get a big slap across your face.
Right? As they get older, they get probably punished. They get put away from things that they like. I feel like with age, the punishment changes. I am not against the beating. I will probably, beat my child.
Same. I basically do, like my mom, I'm afraid of my mom, but I basically do it the way my dad did it to me. Beat when I did something wrong. Like me sneaking out the house, I'd kick my child ass for that. But otherwise, I would. Does talking work? Yes, it works to a degree. You have to understand your child's temperament. You have to understand would they really understand what I'm saying to them, or would it fall on deaf ears? Like you can't talk to a 3-year-old and let them know that you can't do this, because like, what does that mean to them? One is going to be more effective. So I would beat my child, even if I don't have to beat my child as a kid. I would, you know what? I'm gonna follow whatever my child presents to me. So if my child is somebody that doesn't need to be beaten, I will not beat my kids. I'm going to go according to whatever my child is.
You have to be very active in your like you have to basically be looking at your child, studying your child, saying, okay.
I don't want to just come out the blue and be like, you know what, I can't. Whatever child I have, they get their ass beat. I am going to go whatever my child gets.
And you see, there needs to be a balance as well, right? So like if in my situation, my mom wouldn't beat any of us, but that was because my daddy was very there for that. So it was more of a situation where my mommy would use my dad as like fair. So you know what, if you don't do it, I tell your daddy. But if you tell, if I know if you tell him daddy, then I know I get in an ass whooping. So there has to be some sort of balance. So if it is that I end up with somebody who I feel is very easy to hit, I have to hold myself back and be the person who my kid at least teach my child or explain it to my child, because I know if I tell him, So there has to be some sort of balance.
To end with my points, I could just use myself again because that's the best example for me. With me personally, what worked, like everything worked to a degree, but what really got me onto this path I am now is that, okay, so my mom would pick me up from school or whatever, lessons, tennis, whatever, and she would just go off in the car every day. My mom and I used to argue every day, and she used to just go off. Cause after a while, beating her okay. So she's like screaming at me, shouting at me, like telling me like, why are you like this, blah, blah. And I would just sit down there and just take it every day for my whole teenage life, from 13 to when I left St. Lucia, 17, 16. That was it. And what really hit me, what really made me say, let me chill. My mom has high cholesterol and it's stress induced. And she literally used to tell me after a while, Giovanni, you're gonna kill me.
Yeah.
And
that's worse than beating. Imagine saying that I would have killed my mom.
Exactly, to the point where she went to the hospital once because of stress we were giving her. And I was like, alright. And I always tell Bida, I'm always like, yo, the reason why I'm like this now is because like I felt as if I was gonna kill my mom. So like anything stress, like I try my best to like, just keep my mom relaxed and whatever. So that's what worked with me personally. It wasn't really the beating, but you see, there's some children like that. So it's like I know the beating and stuff leveled me, but it's all into just studying your child. Yeah. Check it. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
Mm-hmm. I used to see him with I believe it's balance, but to me, I rather go more for like the talking and like the beating, because like. Against what y'all saying, I feel like we discrediting how much children can understand if we really explain to little kids, like they's taking so much information. Like if you really sit down with a 3-year-old and teach them something and constantly reinforce it as time go on, they'll understand by the time as they like 8, like they really understand. Like my dad always explained to me like, oh, I shouldn't do this because like imagine like your child did something like I don't know what's the perfect example, just like, do you understand like what would happen? Like you explain to them like you could have been hurt. You know how sad that make me feel. Like you explain to your child, and they pick up on your empathy, your emotions too. So when you explain it to them, you realize like, oh, I should not do this because what could possibly happen is this, and it's really like there's certain things they do not think of. And you probably most likely that you might just assume I can't explain it to you because you wouldn't understand. Try your best. Like I try every time. Like it might be a time like choices. Try your best to like really talk to them.
Saying that we're gonna just get up and
I'm not saying that y'all automatically say, but I'm just saying like I tried my best to say like there's a balance to it. But I can't say like I'd rather say like to me it'd be more 70-30. I really want to sit down and talk to like come in here,
like really like last resort for me. Like I'm not gonna automatically jump on you when you do something wrong and be like, that's the ass whooping. I'm gonna try to talk to you, and if I feel like I can't get to you no other way, then the beating is the ass.
I mean, like personally, I ain't got no like, I guess grudge against my parents. Like I go out beating whatever. I just understood like I did something wrong, whatever. Yeah. I can't remember the specifics of it, but I can say I never had no intense abusive beating or whatever. I never nothing like that. The worst I ever got is definitely my fault. I can understand why they were that way. I don't know much battery of, but quick story. My sister left to go to the superstore. That's basically like, it ain't far. But as a child, I was like 5. And I was like, when my sister went, there was like to the superstore, I was like, I won't go. They said, wait till she come back. I was like, nah. So I just walk outside. I was like 5'4", like 5 or 4. I walk outside, and then literally just start walking down the road, just going, like just leaving. And just leaving. And it was like, I reached a certain point where I was like, I don't know where I'm going. And I don't know where home is. I just like, and like literally someone pull up on the side of the road. It's like these two adults. It's like son, like where like who's your parents? Like where are you from? And the thing is, right, my nick, like y'all don't know it, but my nickname is like AC. They only call me that. So like when they pick me up, it's like, what's your name? AC. It's like when you like I say, I just come from my house looking for my sister. And it's like they drop me to the police station. Like they carry me. I'm on like 6 houses down from my house. I literally just turn the corner and walk up a little bit. But they carry me to the police station. The police sitting there like, what's your name? Like AC. They're like they end up like chilling out because like I mean like I ain't much I could do or whatever. Yeah. And so what was lucky was this back when I guess like people more had like phone books per se, like books where they write numbers in. Yeah. I just happened to have one of my mommy. I take one page out of a book. I just happened to have it. That's through God. They end up calling the person, like explaining who I was, whatever. And my mom was gonna pick me up, but she was scared. But she's like, she didn't know where I went. My sister didn't come home and they're like, wait, where I going? And like she was crying and stuff, and I didn't get her or whatever. And she just was like, okay, cool. So I thought everything was cool. Then my daddy didn't come home and he was all like scared. He come like, wait, you okay? Like, yeah. I was like, oh, cool. Then he put me back home. I left and he started beating me. He literally hold me upside down and was like beating me like that. And I was like,
oh boy.
I was like, wait, what?
I just go outside.
But like, I get it. And like, to me, what was even funny with that is, much later, my sister of a child, he was like 6, 7. The same thing gonna happen to him. Like, we was out. I don't know, me and my sister was messing around. I don't want to put my sister on blast, but like,
don't do that.
my nephew ended up disappearing. We was like, I mean, my sister was just outside, like, but your son gone. We like looking around to him. He's like, play. We ain't trying to freak out. We gotta keep going. He's just like, play. We didn't look everywhere in this plaza. He's like, we don't know what to do. So we end up going home. Like, we had to go FaceTime with me. Like, she's like, but you gotta tell it. I can tell your mommy. My child missing, my niece, my nephew going. We reach home. This boy in the house without my mommy. I was like, what's going on? He's like, apparently he tried to walk across the street. Like the morning, picking him up. This like, who you is? He say his whole name. He tell him where he live. He point them. He drive them down the road, turn the corner. He tell him exactly where he live. I was like,
So did he get beat?
Huh? I don't remember him getting beat. I think it was just more like a workout. That was our fault though. It was like our fault.
So you don't need to get beat.
Yeah, I know. But to me, that
I feel like I would know your answer. It'd be like,
I would you beat
I
you?
really want to know your answer. Like, I feel like you'd be like, I do everything different with my parents.
Would you beat
like,
your
what would
kid?
you do with your kid?
Well, I mean, for me, corporal punishment would be more of like an ultimate option, or like a secondary. It wouldn't be my primary.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like it would be a consideration, though?
I mean, honestly, it would actually, I know for a fact it would hurt me more to beat my kids than like I would make it probably, I don't know, man, I would have a hard time beating my kids, to be honest. Because I would just like, that whole process that I went through, I mean, that would just like rekindle in my mind for the whole time. So, and I mean, based on experience too, I know that there are other effective ways of like disciplining children, but it would be, I mean, it would be an option, but more of like a last resort, because I'm not really for the whole corporal punishment.
I am not against beating, obviously. Like, you know, never knows, I'm not gonna say beating. I'm not against spanking because that's up to a certain age. But for me, like, I'd rather talking to my kids, especially like middle niece sort of babysit. Like, for me, like, I'd rather talk to her, but she don't listen. But, you know, you try and talk to them and stuff like that. But then at some point, you know, I give them a little, you know, tap and stuff like that. That's not gonna be my first option. Like, I'm not gonna just go and just start beating them up and stuff like that. I'm not against it, but I'm not completely for excessively beating your child. Like Ben's story in.
You know what's underrated about that? Talking to children, making them respond.
Yeah.
Like, because then, with me personally, I was just spoken to. I couldn't respond.
True.
Making your child respond and having a conversation is underrated.
Definitely.
Because it builds up conversational skills, it makes them realize why they're wrong, it makes them, like, it's...
Think.
It's
They have to make them feel like a person.
So now, to go back to the fair and respect, it's like, when they do something wrong, it's like, no, okay, I'm gonna get licked, or my mother gonna scream at me. It's like, I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Because mommy explained to me, or daddy explained to me, why, if I do this, consequences, blah, blah, and then
Or,
them.
if it helps, we could do the whole thing where I talk to you before and you do it the first time. I talk to you and I let you know not to do this again. But if you do it again, then you know you can get beat.
That should be how it is. That's
what the way should be like.
I shouldn't get beaten for the first time I commit a sin. Like, it's like, you know.
Explain it to them. You know?
Yeah.
So it's the second time, you know it was wrong. Like,
Yeah, so it's like
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that teaches about life too, like, really you do something wrong once, you
Well,
might just get a thing, but
I can
get
just
a
say
second
this.
chance.
I hope all of us never be our parents because it sounds like y'all was going through it
Yeah.
as kids.
I'm not
So
trying
I
to be
hope
parents
none
at
of
all.
us end up being like products of our parents where we're abusing
I love my
children.
parents.
I mean, still love it.
I love you, mommy and dad, if you're watching this. I'm sorry for crying over that.